Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome to my spoiler review of the new DC film Justice League that just hit theaters. And if you guys didn't already know, I did post my non-spoiler review. If you guys haven't seen the movie, that's up on my channel. If you guys want to check that out. If you guys have seen the movie, this is the review for you guys. So if you haven't seen the movie and don't want to be spoiled, check out my non-spoiler review because I'm going to be going into spoilers here. Justice League has been one of my most anticipated movies of all time. For me, it's been the culmination of everything that's been happening in the DCEU so far. And between the great films, in my opinion, that we've gotten with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Wonder Woman, not so much Suicide Squad for me personally, but those three films to me are just everything I could want in a DC film. And with Justice League, there's been a lot of, drama going on because, there was the extensive reshoots that brought in Joss Whedon due to the unfortunate passing of Zack Snyder's daughter, so he stepped down from production and didn't go to the premiere, and he's pretty much stepped down from post-production entirely and the promotion, which sucks. I mean, he's been posting a lot of pictures on his Vero account, but he's more or less stepped out of the spotlight, which is understandable because the guy's been through so much. And with being a spoiler review, I'll delve into more what I liked and didn't like about the movie. So I know we're going to spend, a lot of time talking about Justice League on the podcast next week for the DC Films podcast. If you guys didn't know, me and some friends of mine from Tumblr thrown together to do a DC Films podcast where all we do is talk about the DCEU. We've had 18 episodes. If you guys want to take a listen to those, they're pretty long, just FYI. And this next episode is probably going to be really long, so if you guys want to check that out, definitely tune in for that next week. But again, just to get into my thoughts on this movie, not my favorite DCEU movie, and my biggest problems with this movie come from Joss Whedon. I know Zack said he was one of the ones who brought Joss in. He was helping rewrite some scenes, and then he ultimately took over for post-production. Joss was a terrible choice to bring in for this movie. Again, every single one of my problems with this movie comes from Joss Whedon. From forced humor in certain scenes. There's the one scene of when they're in the one tunnel thing and Barry lands on Diana's chest. That's a Joss Whedon scene, not a Zack Snyder scene. And just somehow Superman was very Joss Whedon and not Zack Snyder. While I loved Superman in this movie, it didn't feel like this was a continuation of Zack Snyder's Superman. It was more of Joss is hey, this is the Superman you guys wanted, not the Zack Snyder version that everyone hated, or that critics and fans hated, Well, again, I did enjoy what we got with Superman. I just wish that it was more of Zack's Superman and not Joss's, because it felt I wouldn't have minded seeing the Superman in the next movie, or the next Man of Steel movie, because by then it would have felt a little more earned. Where in this one, when Superman ultimately comes back, first of all, it feels really rushed. One of my problems with the movie is that it just feels rushed. And to me, it sucks. I think, other than Suicide Squad, I think this is one of the DCEU movie that I have the most problems with. And it sucks because Zack has made incredible movies like Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, Watchmen. Those are all phenomenal movies in my opinion. I will defend those movies to the grave. I love those movies. I'll watch those on any given day. No question about it. Justice League, Warner Brothers took this movie that Zack has been building up to for years. Zack suffered a loss, and Warner Brothers, being the shitty company they are, took that opportunity to be we're going to make a Marvel movie. Here's Joss Whedon, the director of the Avengers, and he's going to make all these scenes funny and light, and this is the movie you guys wanted because you guys hated our other movies. So we're going to act like those didn't happen. It was just so frustrating watching some of these scenes, and you can tell that Warner Brothers was cutting out so much of Zack's work. And so many of the scenes that stuck around, I could tell where Joss is, and it sucks. The scenes I love the most, I know were Zack's, especially one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is the post-credit scene. That I could tell was all Zack, from the way it was shot, from the way it was written by Chris Terrio. That was Zack. When you see Deathstroke coming up, which is an awesome moment, from behind, as soon as you see the little things from his mask, you knew exactly who that was. And then he ultimately goes to the yacht and sees Lex Luthor there, and they have that meeting about possibly forming a league of their own, being the Injustice League or Legion of Doom, whatever. That was an awesome moment, and that was all Zack Snyder. And I don't even more, like, the ending I can tell was more of Zack Snyder. A lot of the stuff with Cyborg, like, the emotionally deep parts of this movie, I know were all Zack. Because Zack handles, in my opinion, I know there's a lot of people who don't like the DCEU and don't like the way Zack Snyder and his writing team with Chris Terrio and other people have written their characters. I don't give a fuck what you guys think. Personally, in my opinion, I think he gives us such great and layered characters. And those moments in Justice League, when they had those moments between, like the moments when Barry was at the prison visiting his dad, and Cyborg's like frustration with his father, and coming to terms with who he is now that he is this like part man, mostly machine person now. And you can see the bit of frustration with Arthur and his dealing with like Atlantis and Mira, and like having to have that burden of like his mom's kind of abandoned it on his dad's doorstep. And it's just like those are the moments I know are Zack's. But I look at scenes like the way Lois is handled, and that one scene that I had the biggest problem with in the movie, when they make that stupid joke about being thirsty between Martha and Lois. That is all Whedon, and that was all shot by Whedon, because frankly, that was not a Zack Snyder shot scene at all. And I could tell that was not the Daily Planet. Like set-wise, it was absolutely not. Because I know that Lawrence Fishburne couldn't be in this movie. He was working on something else, which sucks, because I love Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. But like, none of that felt like the Daily Planet to me. Like, they didn't feel like as much as like Zack Snyder's Lois Lane that he's established in this universe. Like, some of my favorite scenes still involve like Lois and Clark after he's come back, and he's still kind of like slowly trying to remember who he is, and she's ultimately the ones that brings him back down after he first wakes up and he's kind of like attacking the League. And one of my favorite moments in the movie was when Superman comes back and he's fighting everyone. And one of my favorite moments, I gotta say, was when they're all fighting him, and Flash is going at high speed, and you can see like Superman like slowly turning his eyes around because he sees him, and you can see Barry being like internally being like, oh shit. And then I loved that, and the whole like "do you bleed" thing. I thought was a good line, and I loved that carry on from Batman v Superman was Bruce's struggle with Superman's death, and the guilt that he has about it. And Diana like brings that up when Bruce is trying to say like, hey, let's do this, let's bring Clark back. And that's one, I love the way that they brought him back, but at the same time that's another thing that felt rushed to me, in that I guess it just goes back to my whole issue of the movie feeling rushed. Like, it should have been at least 2.5 hours, or at least the length of like the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman, or even Man of Steel. Like, those are all thoroughly fleshed out movies. This feels really, really rushed. Like, everything, I love the stuff in Atlantis. I love the stuff with Barry and his dad. I love the stuff with Cyborg, and like seeing Commissioner Gordon for the first time in this universe. Like, there's so many moments that I loved in this movie that I know that just given like a few more minutes of each scene, I would have been more happy about it. And like, I can get over some of the Whedon dialogue and all that if you just give me a more fleshed out story. And Warner Brothers screwed Zack Snyder over, and it pisses me off. And this is coming from, again, I've been a diehard fan of these movies. I defended Suicide Squad for the longest time. I can't do that much anymore, because the more I think about that movie, the more I don't like it as much as I did. And it sucks. It's still a movie I still find enjoyment in certain moments, but I just don't think that's a great DCEU movie. And this is like ranked like, unfortunately, I haven't seen the movie more than once yet. So I mean, after sleeping on it, I did like the movie more than I initially did. Like, Amy, if you guys have seen her on the channel at any point, she's my fiance. She had some problems with the movie. She didn't like Ezra Miller's Flash at all. I really enjoyed Ezra Miller's Flash, because I do feel like for him and Aquaman, especially, this is first time us really being introduced to these characters, and their arcs are literally just beginning in this movie. So I can't wait to see what they do with Flash's movie, which is, I guess, still gonna be Flashpoint, and Aquaman's movie next year. Like, I'm excited to see their storylines, because how they initially set those up, because this is essentially their first really big outing as their respective counterparts. And one thing I want to bring up too about Aquaman is that moment in Man of Steel where after the oil rig scene where he hits the water and then he wakes up and the whales are there, that's confirmed that Aquaman was there to help save Superman in that moment, which I think was really cool that they said that. They didn't acknowledge it in the movie, of course, but I just thought that was really cool. And I know I spent a lot of time on my problems in this movie, so now I'm going to spend almost 10 minutes. I'm going to talk about more of the things I did enjoy. As far as like Easter eggs go, again, that last end credit scene was amazing. I could talk about that all day. And then the second post credit scene with Superman and Flash's race, that was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I know, like, as DCU fans, I'm not used to seeing like a humorous Superman in this version of Superman in this universe. I still like a lot of his scenes. I just wish that they would have been more of a natural progression of the character instead of just like he's back from the dead and now he's a light character. Like that's one of my issues with it. But again, as far as the Easter eggs go, one of my favorite ones that I've noticed was when Diana was talking about the war with Steppenwolf between the human forces and the Atlanteans and the Amazons, and they're bringing in other help. We finally see a Green Lantern in this universe. Granted, it's some random Green Lantern we don't really know. I still thought that was really awesome nonetheless. I think there might have been more like Thanagarians or other like people in there, but that was the first one I recognized that I focused on that I really enjoyed. And one thing I gotta say that I did and bring up in my spoiler-free review is that the chemistry of this cast was so amazing, and one of my favorite moments was when pretty much any moment when the entire team was together, just their banter together, I thought was really just fantastic. I really liked how, like, when the one moment I brought up earlier when everyone was kind of calling out Bruce and his behavior, and Bruce kind of goes off on Diana about Steve Trevor and all of that stuff, and everyone kind of sides with Diana. Like, to me, that was really a great and well-written scene, in my opinion. I can talk about the dynamic of the team all day. It's each one of these actors were cast perfectly, in my opinion. I loved Ezra Miller's Flash. He was a little too jokey in a couple scenes, but that's more of the dialogue and not his or Zach's fault. I loved Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Again, I can't wait for his solo movie. And Cyborg, I think, for me, again, was one of the standouts. And he just felt like the emotional heart of this story. And I'm glad that the trailers didn't reveal as much. I wish they showed a little more of him, just because like he was the one character that we didn't get a whole ton of. It sucks because there's a lot of moments in the trailers that showed Cyborg that ultimately we didn't see because they were cut, much like Suicide Squad, which is another issue that I know we'll get into in the podcast. And Batman in this movie, again, some parts where he was a little too jokey. Again, that's more of Whedon, I can tell, than it was Zach. I still enjoyed Ben Affleck's Batman in this movie. I know there's a lot of people, especially with everything that's come out about Ben Affleck as a person, what he's done to women in the past, and what he's come out and admitted to. I can't defend him or his actions in those moments. It's hard to defend him as a person. I'm still a fan of his portrayal as Batman. I like him in those movies, and there's still a number of movies of his that I still enjoy, like Gone Girl, or even like going back a long time, like to even like Kevin Smith's Dogma. Like there's movies of his that I really still enjoy, but I can't defend him as a person unless he's willing to be part of the solution and not continue to be part of the problem. So I know a lot of people watch this movie and they just see what Ben Affleck did to those women, and I can't. Like my fiance is one of those people. Like, she hates Ben Affleck because of the things he's done, doing cheating on Jennifer Gardner and all those other things that have come out in the last couple of months. I can't like give anyone crap for feeling that way about Ben Affleck, because it's his own fault. He did some really shitty things, and he's kind of a shitty person for doing that, and I can't defend him in any way. I'm only gonna continue to defend his portrayal as Batman as an actor. And I still love his Batman. I really hope he sticks around. Now there's even more rumors circulating that he's not going to come back and that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to replace him. I don't know at this point, especially with the lukewarm reception of the movie. Who are we getting? The critics are still trashing this movie like I thought they would, and blaming it on Zach, even though it's any problems the movie has go on Whedon and Warner Brothers, not Zach. And that, again, really frustrating. What else? There were just so many moments in this movie, like action scene wise, I thought were really well done. Steppenwolf as a villain, again, not much to say about him. The parademon parts were cool, and like there's the mention of Darkseid. We didn't get to see Darkseid, unfortunately. It was cool seeing Steppenwolf, and he was fine. The voice was good. CGI could have been a little better. I wish there was a little more practicality to his look. Other than that, I thought he was really just an okay villain. I mean, I have not much more to say other than that. Syrian Hines, I believe is the actor's name who portrayed him. I think he did a really well done job of portraying his voice, and yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I might be forgetting. The score, again, by Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman's score was mediocre. There's a couple of scenes that it worked. The one scene of Wonder Woman's theme. The more I think about it, the more the Batman stuff that he used from his own score previously really bothered me. Danny Elfman is he's an asshole, and I don't like him. And I didn't like his score, so that sucks. I just hope if there is an extended cut of this movie, it released at some point, that someone else comes in and does the score, even though I know that's not going to happen. That's not how extended cuts work or director's cuts work. A part of me just wishes they could just bring in Junkie XL, or even like Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer. I just wish they could do that, but they won't and they can't, so it is what it is. I'm trying to think of what else to bring up. There's so much to talk about. I know we're going to get into more in-depth discussion in the podcast. I just want to say that, again, there's a lot of things I loved about this movie, from the stuff on the Amazons, setting up Gotham City, just like more of the world building stuff I thought was fantastic. Getting our first look at Mira was awesome, and that fight scene in Atlantis was awesome. Again, I love seeing the Amazons and Hippolyta again. I wish that we saw more of these characters in a more fleshed out movie that wasn't as Whedon influenced. And that's, again, where a lot of my problems come from. I know there's a lot of DCEU fans, even a couple on the podcast, who have a lot of problems with this movie, more so than I do. I'm a little more forgiving because I love these characters so much, especially with Superman and the way he was portrayed. I know this isn't exactly the DCEU Superman that we've come to know. He's more or less a different Superman the way he's written. I need to watch the movie a couple more times, but for the fans of the movie, who obviously, if you guys don't like it or have problems because of everything that Joss did, it sucks. I feel like this is the first time, like, in the DCEU that we've had this much divisiveness, even in our own fandom, and it sucks because this is Zack Snyder's movie, or was supposed to be Zack Snyder's movie, and it's become a Whedon-centric movie, and it really just sucks. Like, I wish I was more enthusiastic about this movie. Not that I'm not. Again, I still love the movie. I'm going to go out and see it at least 2 more times. I just wish that Whedon wasn't involved in this movie. Otherwise, it would have been a condensed Zack Snyder movie, but it still would have been a Zack Snyder movie nonetheless. And there's so many moments that I still feel like were just so much of Joss, not enough Zack. And again, every single one of my problems comes from either my issues with Whedon or with Warner Brothers as a whole, or Danny fucking Elfman. Everything else that I loved about this movie, I know was Zack. So I just wanted to get this out and say, Zack Snyder deserves all the praise in the world for what he's been able to establish in this universe. Whedon took a huge crap on this movie. He did. And the way he wrote some of these characters, had to have that stupid fucking scene of Barry landing on Diana's boobs, and the way he portrayed Lois in certain scenes. I don't want Whedon or Danny Elfman to touch another DCEU movie ever again. Stay in fucking Marvel. Stay the hell away from these movies, because my biggest issues come from Whedon. Whedon is a piece of shit director and a piece of shit person. I don't know why people continue to praise him, and he's not that good of a writer. I don't think so at all. First Avengers, I enjoyed. Second Avengers, not so much. I don't think that was that great of a movie. It's mostly forgettable and written terribly. This movie, I loved most of it. There's a lot of problems that I had that come from Whedon, and it's just hard for me to be as excited because I'm so focused on that right now. Maybe once the weekend rolls by and that I might feel a little more positively about it, or maybe if I see the movie one more time. Just as of right now, I'm just not sure how I'm going to be about this movie moving forward. So if you guys like what you see here, definitely keep the conversation going in the comments. What did you guys think of the movie? I know there's a lot of things that I probably missed in this spoiler review that we're probably going to get in a deep conversation with in the our DC Films podcast next week. I've already been rambling for like 20 minutes, so we're definitely going to be rambling a lot more in the podcast. So if you guys definitely thought I missed anything, just stay tuned for the podcast. I know this has been like me pushing that podcast, but seriously, that's gonna be the most in-depth discussion of this movie. But thank you guys for listening to my review. If you guys liked the movie, you guys didn't like the movie, just keep the conversation going in the comments below. And yeah, Zack Snyder, I just want to say this. I've said this on multiple different social media accounts. Thank you for what you've done in establishing this universe. I'm such a diehard fan of the DCEU. This movie should have been your vision from beginning to end. And Warner Brothers didn't respect your vision. I know Zack Snyder has even admitted that he hasn't even seen the movie yet. Not in this version anyway. And Zack Snyder, despite everything you've gone through, I can sympathize. You know, I've lost my own mom just a little over a week ago. I lost my grandma, who was my mom's mom. So I know how loss feels, especially people who are that close to you. And critics and fans have just attacked you nonstop. You don't deserve any of it, man. You're an amazing filmmaker, an amazing person, an amazing artist, and like I keep saying, me and so many other people are going to stand with you no matter what you do, and that we're going to fight for your vision to be kept in this movie, and hopefully we get an extended cut that's your vision and not Whedon, you know. I know he's not even going to probably watch this, so this message might even be pointless, but I just want to get this out there. So those are my thoughts on Justice League and my spoiler review. Again, I know there's a lot that I missed. Again, we'll talk about more about it later on. So if you guys, again, like you see here, hit the thumbs up button. If you guys want to check out our DC Films podcast, definitely check out those. I think you guys really like our discussions that we've been having for the last number of months. And definitely check out for next week's episode. And I think with that being said, that's going to be it for me. So until next time, guys, have a good one.